Welcome back to Troll Time with the Troll King. I'm Ivan D. Curtis, aka the Troll King. I want to thank everybody who's been tuned in to the show lately. Lately, we've been covering the WNBA, but this show is where we talk about sports, movies, or anything thought provoking. Today's topic will be covering the Defensive Player of the Year in the WNBA, also the All Defensive Teams, the Coach and Executive of the Year, and then the unfortunate passing of Dikembe Mutombo. And then we'll get into the game recaps that took place yesterday with the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty, and also the Connecticut Sun versus the Minnesota Lynx. I don't do this show by myself. I do it with my trusty brother, A. Willie. Hey, Willie, what's going on with you, man?
Man, of course, I was looking forward to us doing this show, and then hearing about the unfortunate passing of Dikembe Mutombo, that definitely struck a chord with me, man. So, but as always, I'm certainly looking forward to us chopping it up about the W.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, for me, and probably just like yourself, losing a lot of childhood, athletes, stars. Some we lost earlier, some we're losing later, but we'll get into that about Dikembe later. Yesterday in the WNBA, awards were given out officially. You had Nafisa Collier take home Defensive Player of the Year, and then you had the All Defensive Teams, of course, headed by the Defensive Player of the Year. But it first team was rounded out by Nafisa Collier, Asia Wilson, Ezzy Bagagor, Dejanay Carrington, and Brianna Stewart. And then on the second team, you had Alyssa Thomas, Elena Smith, Nneka Agumake, Jonquel Jones, and Natasha Cloud. I'm going to get into, some interesting takes that I've seen across social media. Of course, you had Angel Reese, who led the league in rebounding, who was left off of the all defensive teams. And then you had Arike Agubinwale, who led the league in steals, who also was not on the all defensive teams. But before I get into that, just hats off to all those who made first and second team. Anytime you get into disputes about who makes a team or who doesn't make a team, it's not to discredit those who did the work and made the teams. But it's a strong. You got a couple players from the Minnesota Lynx. Minnesota Lynx, obviously, top defensive team in the league, so that kind of makes sense. Asia Wilson, of course, easily could have been defensive player of the year as well. So I like it. You got Ezzy. Strong. It's a strong team of players. Natasha Cloud. That kind of surprised me a little bit. I'm not saying that she doesn't play defense or anything like that. But a lot of times when you look at things statistically, I just was seeing like Arike probably making the team and different things like that. But hey, Willie, what's your take on first and second team all defensive team in the WNBA?
It's interesting when you look at it. Of course, we look at the defensive rating. I'm a big defensive rating guy, and so if you look at the defensive rating, Nafisa Collier led the league in defensive rating, and then when you look at defensive win shares, Asia Wilson led the league in defensive win shares. So not a big surprise there. The thing that really stuck out to me when I look at this, I'm gonna tell you, OG, that really stuck out to me was the amount of positional defenders that are on this team. So they were rewarding people being in the right places, people being connected to their teams defensively and not hurting their teams defensively, chasing statistics. That's what it looked like to me. It's really a testament to, again, being in the right place, playing with the right basketball IQ. Sometimes statistics lead these arguments, and when we look at stats, sometimes we take out of context what that means to the team concept. So when you look at this team, really impressive with what people are doing as positional defenders. And I got to say this, man, I'm partial to guards, Shout out to Dejanay Carrington because you talk about individual on-ball defense. She made the all-defensive team in a more traditional sense that we're used to seeing dogs on defense, people that hound you into turnovers, hound you into exhaustion because they are constantly in your shorts. And that's what Dejanay Carrington represents on the perimeter. So shout out to her. You know, I love that because that's how your boy played it, man.
Oh no, I'm big. It's crazy because when I played, I was big on defense. As a fan, of course, I done fell into the web like everybody else. I love offense, but at the end of the day, defense is where the championships are won. You got to score though, but you also got to get some stops. I was doing some research because I, like a few other people, wondering where Angel Reese was at in the mix of things. Of course, she led the league in rebounding, but I went and looked at the history, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 times this has happened where the league leader in rebounds did not make the all defensive team. We'll start with Angel Reese in 2024. Sylvia Fowles in 2018. 2015, Courtney Parrish, and 14, she led the league back to back and did not make the all defensive team. You had Cheryl Ford in 2005, and she was a monster on the boards. And then 2003, Shamiqua Horseclaw did not make the all defensive team, where she did make it in 2002. And she led the league once again back to back. So that was an interesting some research that I did. Just I got to respect the emotional posters and different things like that because they are the people who truly make up social media pages. But in the position that I'm in, I never really want to just say things just to be saying things. So when I got a feeling about it, I researched it. It's not the first time it's happened. Probably won't be the last time that it happens. Her defense could improve. And like I said, I don't want to take away from those who made the team. I think it's a stout team, especially that first team. You're probably not scoring a lot of points on that unit at all.
Hell no. Hell no.
So hats off to them. I will say I think the W got it right. Another award that was handed out, head coach, coach of the year and executive of the year, which both was taken home by Cheryl Reeve. We've talked about some who we thought were the top coaches in the league, and I actually think that the last 4 coaches standing are the top coaches in the league, and Cheryl Reeve is one of them. Also about taking home executive of the year, she made some great moves for the Lynx in the offseason, and they have benefited greatly. Did not know the 30 wins were the most for them in a regular season. And that's in part too to I think we had mentioned before. I think a lot of people were kind of up in the air about Minnesota and what type of team they were going to be. I don't know if anybody thought they were going to be a championship level type team, but definitely competitive. And she just put the right pieces together. So hats off to Cheryl Reeve. I seen on a post, a lot of people don't like her, man. And I often believe that as a head coach, if you're not liked, you're probably one of the best ones. Some of the best coaches and best players are not generally liked by everyone. And she seems to be one of them. I saw her take a lot of flack during the Olympic time too. So, she's doing her job at the end of the day. And, I think Minnesota is in a great spot, regardless of what happened yesterday. But like I said, once again, hats off to Cheryl Reeve. Your thoughts, Willie?
He did a great job rebuilding this team on the fly. And we know in this league, in any league, when you're trying to win a championship, especially when you have a great run, we see it across sports where teams will have an amazing run, and that run is due to a certain player or a certain collection of players, and then we see a drop off, and we see that drop off last for a substantial amount of time. That's not the case in Minnesota. They really rebuilt this thing on the fly. Shout out to Cheryl Reeve and what she did, the coach's temperament, that matriculated throughout the roster, making some timely moves as well. Of course, you got the emergence of Nafisa Collier, but we got Courtney Williams, who I talked about. We're gonna talk about some more. You got Natisha Heideman. She's done a great job of rebuilding this team on the fly and getting pieces that, and she was able to maximize pieces that maybe in other situations those players weren't playing to the apex of their powers. But somehow Cheryl Reeve and her coaching staff, they've been able to select the right players and coach them up the right way, man. I love it.
No, I agree. And I think Minnesota is in great hands. I mean, Cheryl Reeves is, she's been in the league for a while. It's her 15th season. I believe all with Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. So this, I think, is her fourth time winning Coach of the Year. And if I missed anything, I'll catch it in my last words. But like I said, she's dominated the scene. She's had some phenomenal players. I think even with this team, the emergence of Nafisa Collier probably has a lot to do with Cheryl Reeves. Just hats off to the Minnesota Lynx organization and Cheryl Reeves. This is something that we added to this show. Recently, got the news today. Dikembe Mutombo died from brain cancer. Ultimately one of the league's best shot blockers, but greatly one of the league's best humanitarians. For his country and beyond. Unfortunately, died at 58. Kind of, been out of the scene publicly, but always doing the work for others. And I think that was a large part of his legacy. Just sending my condolences to the Mutombo family, the NBA family. And like I said, we talked about this earlier. These are players that are passing away. That's part of our childhood, man. Like, the waving of the finger, from Michael Jordan talking about dunking on Dikembe. I mean, Dikembe just seemed like always an overall great guy. And I'm sure he's going to be missed by many. Your feelings right now, A. Willie, with the passing of Dikembe Mutombo?
Man, you know this. He represented a program. We found out about Dikembe Mutombo through the great John Thompson and the Georgetown program. And they represented a program, as you know, we felt some sort of way about. We felt some sort of kinship with. They represented us. They had us on their, we stood on their shoulders, literally, it seems like. And they carried that with grace, all those players that represented that program. And none represented it more than him or better than him in terms of being a citizen of the world. So, again, condolences to his family, condolences to his friends. Just a big loss. And as you said, the world needs more people like Dikembe Mutombo, that's for sure.
For sure. I'm sure that we are going to see some tributes and different things like that to come. But like I said, once again, sending condolences to the Mutombo family and the NBA family and just the world as a whole that had a chance to actually know and experience who Mutombo was, whether it was close, near, or far. Next, we're getting into the games that took place. New York Liberty came out striking on the Las Vegas Aces. Of course, the Aces, being the championship team that they are, they fought back, made it interesting. But man, Stu York City this was personal for her. I actually had looked over the notes of last year's final in that game for her, where she only had 10 points. and I think she was like 4 for 17. I have to fact check that, but it
Yeah,
was
I think she
not.
was 3 for 17 from the field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not a great game by her at all. And yesterday, like I said, it came out, took care of business, got the win, 87-77. Stewie finished with 34 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Anytime she's filling it up like that, New York is in a great place. Shots 12 for 19 from the field, 2 for 4 from the three, 8 for 9 from the free throw line. That getting to the free throw line is important because she's a threat from all 3 levels, whether it's catch and shoot, off the bounce. Probably one of the more complete scorers in the W. And like I said, took care of business. Sabrina followed up with 21 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 9 for 15, 3 for 6 from three. I honestly feel like with those type of performances from them is ultimately going to lead to a dub. And then you throw in the X factor, Jaquel Jones, 13 points, 12 rebounds, a double-double from her. Any type of double-double from her in this series is going to be huge. And 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. She was 1 for 2 from three. Didn't shoot particularly well. Was 4 for 10, but that 12 rebounds, 10 of those defensive, tells me that that's the type John Quell that they need if they want to get to the promised land. Flip it over to the other side. Kelsey Plum carried the Aces in scoring. She had a team high for them at 24 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds. Was 4 for 8 from three, 9 for 17 from the field. Asia Wilson, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 for 16 from the field. Just 4 free throws, 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Not a good sign for the Aces when you think about Asia Wilson being ultimately aggressive in attacking the rim and drawing contact against the Liberty. Jackie Young, 17 points, 6 for 16 from the field, 2 for 7 from the three, 3 for 3 from the free throw line. Not a particularly good floor game. Only had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals, which typically, she's more 5+ rebounds, 5+ assists type game. And then you had Alicia Clark, 9 points, 5 rebounds, played 25 minutes. I've seen a lot of people talking about, asking for Ebo to get playing time, Gustafson to get some playing time, because at times the Liberty looked rather small. The Aces look rather small against the Liberty with Clark being out there. Most of the time Clark is out there to stretch the floor, but in mismatches, they took advantage. Stewie takes advantage of any mismatch, and I think the Aces paid the cost for that. Hey, Willie, your thoughts on Game 1 between New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces?
I'm partial to point guards, man. Hashtag point guard life. Your boy says that a lot. Chelsea Gray has to dominate this series if the Aces want to win. I said that when we were talking about the preview of this series right before Game 1. I said that Chelsea Gray, has to dominate this series. And if she's not dominating this series as a point guard, it's going to be really, really hard for the Aces to win because New York is so connected defensively. They're on a mission as well. So, and here's the other thing from a personnel standpoint. New York, if you notice, when they come off the bench with players, most of those players are bigs. Those are front court players. That's done specifically for Asia Wilson. And we're seeing it manifest itself throughout this series because not only in Game 1 did Asia see a bunch of bodies every time she was attempting the shot, she saw a bunch of big bodies every time she was attempting the shot. So with that being said, and then if you have those guards digging down too, you have those things going, and they're living with the Aces not making threes because the Aces, I think, shot like 26% from three or 26 or 27% from three in this game. That's the other thing. They got to make threes. But Chelsea Gray has to dominate. We got to see the Aces getting more easy looks. That's including Asia Wilson. Their perimeter players as well need to get easier looks. That happens when Chelsea Gray is really controlling the tempo. Where do you get that? You got to get stops. The Aces have to get more stops than they did against the Liberty in game 2. They definitely have to get stops so they can get out in transition, and we can see Chelsea Gray get some of those easier looks when Asia Wilson gets runouts, when Jackie Young gets runouts. Maybe they're spotting up for 3 in transition, those daggers. So Chelsea Gray has to dominate this game. From a point guard perspective, the Aces got to get better defensively if they want to win this.
No, I agree. I wasn't one of the best games for Chelsea Gray. She finished with 4 points, 1 assist. Her plus minus was a negative minus 15. She was 2 for 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from the three. Me personally, anytime I see Chelsea Gray chucking threes, if I'm the other team, I'm feeling good because that's not where she's going to hurt you. She's going to hurt you from attacking, drawing and kicking, or getting into the lane and getting the ball to the right people. So when you see that early, you're in good shape. It was a point in time in the game, though, where I felt like New York were playing really well, but they were only up between 6 and 8 points. And I felt like that could be a concern going forward. Now, they win the game by 10 points. The Aces only shot 43% from the field, 28% from the three, and 80% from the free throw line. And New York shot 50% overall and 42% from the three and 82% from the free throw line. Now, it was a stretch in that game where the Aces were shooting terrible and the Liberty were shooting great, but they were only up by like 6 to 8 points. And that's still the danger zone with a team like Las Vegas who can, put together some stretches in a heartbeat, especially offensively. So that's just something I'm going to be on the lookout for. But Liberty take care of business. They lead the series 1-0. That series will continue tomorrow. I don't think that I'm not sure. Let me double check about the times if they put anything on the docket just yet. Okay, we do have time. The Aces in New York, ESPN 2, 7:30 tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. I honestly think that New York needs to go up 2-0 before they head out to the West Coast. What do you think, A. Willie? Man, is it a pivotal game too? Is it more important for the Liberty to get game 2 or more important for the Aces to get game 2?
I want to see a long series, so I need the Aces to win game 2. I definitely need to see that but to your point, I certainly understand where if you're looking at it from the Liberty's perspective, there is this belief that they have to win game 2 because what you don't want to do is give the Aces life when they're going back home. So I certainly agree with that, but I feel like the Aces really need to win game 2 so we can see a long series. That's what I want to see.
The next game that was played, Connecticut, Minnesota, which as we talked about before, this was a rematch of last year's first round matchup. And ironically, Minnesota falls to Connecticut yesterday. And 73-70, man, did Connecticut battle. That game mimicked the last game that they played in the regular season, where that 2.5 minute stretch was completely back and forth, and you kind of figured it was going to come down to a last possession. Hats off to all of them. I mean, it was a battle. Alyssa Thomas, one assist away from a triple-double, and she also hit a critical foul line jumper that put some separation in between the games. She hit that mid-range jumper with 11.7 seconds left. Marina Mabry had hit a dagger from way out in a possession previously to that. And one thing I was disappointed about was the execution down the stretch. I figured 11.7 was enough that you could either play the long game or you can play the short game. They preferred to take the short game. Nafisa Collier had a drive to the lane. They was giving her the 2. She passed it up and then went out to the left wing and forced up a 3, and ultimately the ball game was over. But I was kind of disappointed in that execution. I know Cheryl Reed was hot. One of the things that they was constantly talking about is giving up straight line drives, and I felt like Connecticut did a great job yesterday of attacking the rim, and basically they, not a lot of side to side, just straight attacking the rim, and pretty much got whatever they wanted in stretches, whether that was free throws or whether that was points, or just putting in position to get offensive rebounds and get extra possessions. But this is going to be a series where I feel like it's going to probably come down to the last possession on every game. You probably won't see Minnesota score only 8 points in a quarter from here on out. It was treacherous for them in the fourth quarter. I think they were up 4 for 14. It was 4 for 14 in the fourth quarter. Not a good stretch of basketball for Minnesota. But like I said, Mabry came up with 20 points, 5 rebounds, 6 for 11 from 3. And she continues to be probably the sole reason why they're going to end up where they're at. I mean, now that's no smack in the face to DeWanna Bonner or Alyssa Thomas or Dejanay Carrington, but Mabry has came up huge for Connecticut. I honestly don't think they win the first round matchup against the Fever without Mabry. So big ups to they're making the right move for them. Hey, Willie, your thoughts on Minnesota and Connecticut Sun?
Man, you already know off the line, I text you all the time when we watch these games before we started chopping it up live. I would tell you all the time, Marina Mabry can play for my team any day of the week. I always said that because she can. I love the intensity that she plays with because you always got to have an agitator. You got to have one. So love the intensity that she plays with. I also love the fact that she is not afraid to take and make big shots. So shout out to her. Always been a big fan of her game and always felt like on championship caliber teams, a player of her ilk always has a role. The thing that was really eye-opening about this game one is you got 2 of the best defensive teams in the league playing against each other. 2 of the top 3 teams in terms of defensive efficiency, defensive rating. These are 2 of the top 3 teams in the league competing against each other. So you think you're going to see that defensive chess match. And we saw that a lot. Now, here's the crazy thing about that. The crazy part about it is when you go a little bit deeper, when you're one of the top teams in the league defensively, what you also don't allow are opposing teams to get assists. So if you look at what Connecticut was able to do, they only shot 3 free throws in this game. But why were they able to score? They got 24 assists. That's well above the average that Minnesota allows other teams to get throughout the season. So the fact that the ball was moving, even Marina Mabry, a lot of those threes weren't necessarily her coming up, breaking somebody down and pulling up for 3. They were literally off a ball movement, maybe off of offensive rebound, kick it back out, and she hits a 3. Now, granted, you got to make them, and she did, but nonetheless, a lot of those buckets resulted from assists, moving the ball, whether it's Veronica Burton, whether it's DeWanna Bonner, whether it's Alyssa Thomas, all finding the open person, Dejanay Carrington, all finding the open person and getting the shot off. That's one of the things that Connecticut did. The other thing I'm really, really fascinated with watching in this series is, to your point, you talked about 8 points from Minnesota. You probably won't see them score that in a quarter again. They probably won't have, as great as Connecticut is defensively, I don't see Minnesota going 5 for 20 from three for the rest of this series. I just don't see that. But I'm buckled up, as Dejanay character says, seatbelt. I got my seatbelt ready for a long series because, again, as much as these two teams are great defensively, it's really going to be about who can impose their will offensively, who can get those stops and get out in transition and score before the other team is able to set their defense. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing this. And, man, well, another thing I want to say really quick about Nafisa Collier. When you look at her frame, it's almost like watching DeWanna Bonner in this regard. Not saying that their games are the same, but DeWanna Bonner and Nafisa Collier have relatively thin frames. So people think that they're soft. You don't let that smooth taste fool you. There are a lot of instances where Minnesota was getting open shots and just missing them. With Fee playing the five, she's in the post, and they're going 4 out, and she's down there. So, man, that was just another just watching both of them play, DeWanna Bonner and Nafisa Collier. You don't have to be this hulking presence to impose your will physically and to initiate contact. And both of them do that. So shout out to both of those women.
No doubt. And I think that's not a bad comparison to me because both of their builds, they're kind of straight up, square shoulders. They don't always show extreme athleticism, but they're able to make plays with their length and quickness. I love the way both of them play. I'm expecting to see a huge game from Nafisa Collier. 7 for 16 is not typical for her. She's normally more efficient. 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. That's a typical floor game from her. But the shooting, you normally see. It was a lot of points and times in that game where shots that she normally makes, she misses. And then, Carlton, I thought, played great. That's typically, Carlton and Smith sometimes, they can give you anywhere from 12 to 14 consistently. Elena Smith was only 2 for 9. And she had 8 rebounds. I think they did their job. And she had 5 blocks. It was the shooting. They only shot 41.5%. I know a lot of times especially when two good defensive teams are playing against each other, you want to accredit everything to defense, but sometimes teams are just missing shots.
Right, exactly.
Whether that's, now that could be from fatigue, from wear down, from being defended, but, open shots are open shots. And, you got to put it in the bucket. But shooting, Courtney Williams was 3 for 12. That just won't cut it for Minnesota. Anytime you see shooting like that, it probably won't bode well for Minnesota. Hines Allen, 6.6 rebounds off the bench in 11 minutes. She did what she typically does, 3 for 4 from the field. But I definitely expect to see a more efficient Minnesota Lynx team in Game 2. And you can catch Game 2 tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. on ESPN2. As I always ask, Willie, at the end of the show, you got anything you want to get off your chest?
Man, it's always something I want to get off my chest, right? Is there things related to the W I want to get off my chest and things that aren't related to the W that I want to get off my chest? I want to say this, though. I do want to get this off my chest. The Aces and Liberty Game 1 was the most watched. We had, I think it was almost 3 million viewers. Most watched WNBA game. So for all those people that said people would stop watching the W because Caitlin Clark's not playing, and Caitlin is amazing, and she brought a whole lot of eyes. So again, 2 things could be true. So as y'all walk with us, be nuanced in your listening abilities. Nobody here is saying that we don't like Caitlin Clark's game. But there was this school of thought that people would stop watching because Caitlin's not playing. That clearly wasn't the case. So shout out to all the players that are playing in the WNBA that we love to watch, that we love to talk about.
I think for me, I want to Cheryl Reeves, as I mentioned, just not to leave some stuff out. This is her 4th time being Coach of the Year. 2011, 2016, 2020, and 2024. That's the most in league history. Her second time as executive of the year, she won that back in 2019. Me personally, I don't probably think it's probably not going to be too many coaches or anybody who touches that. That's going to be a tough feat. Another thing for me is that we're going to have some other shows coming up here soon. We're going to be talking about, college football, NFL. Hopefully we can get a couple of my buddies on that's extreme football peers to join us. That'll be great. That episode will probably be dropping in a day or so. But just make sure that you continue to watch the show. And, if you don't remember anything, remember, I'm here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch you on the next episode.